Hi, everyone. It's Kara Lovehart, the director of the new Visions Holistic Expo, and I'm here to introduce you to one of our speakers for this event this year. And her name is Beth Montgomery, and she is a death doula. So we're going to bring her on and talk a little bit about that because a lot of times people aren't even aware what a death doula is.
Hi,
Hi,
Karen.
Beth.
Hello, how are you?
I'm very good. I know that this question of what is a death doula is something that you probably get asked a lot. So,
Yeah.
could you share with us a little bit about what that is and how you're going to educate us as a speaker this year at our event?
Thank you. So, a death doula is someone who practices holistically. We're non medical. We are anything surrounding the death talk, whether it's pre planning or sitting bedside, legacy planning, grief work, sometimes elder care. And so, it encompasses all the things about death, dying, and grief all in one word.
Now, how did you end up becoming a death doula? And did you know that you had mediumship capacities before or after or during? Because when we first met, I had no idea that you were a medium because
Mhm.
we met at this wonderful event that you put on and you'll be putting on again next year. And I was like, wait a minute, you're a medium too? And we actually really did readings for each other. And we were like, this is so cool. Like, cause you read very similar to me. So that was a really cool experience, but I was curious, like, did you experience that type of sensitivity before? Did that lead you into becoming a death doula, or how does that work for you?
Yeah, I was always the weird little kid that could see spirit in people's auras, right? And so I learned at a very young age that that's wrong. Don't say that. It's weird. Not everybody was accepting of it. So I kind of kept it quiet for a long time, and then it came back with a vengeance when I got clean and sober back in 2020 during the pandemic. And that I feel like the pandemic really expanded a lot of us, right? It was a era of expansion for a lot of us. But during that time, death was something that was mysterious to me. I mean, I'm sure a lot of us have had that experience where we just don't talk about it. You know,
Yeah.
grandma, this person, so and so has died, and now we go to the funeral and then we sweep it under the rug.
Yeah.
And in doing so, I just got this really big curiosity about my own mortality. And I've only experienced death twice before entering the space of being a death doula. And what happened was I just fell in love with it. The whole process, the fears that I had were squelched, and the ability to sit with someone alongside them as they were going through this biggest transition has not only given them peace, but also me peace. And then I can share, um, because what is the biggest mystery in life? It's death.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. So are you when you're working as a death doula, I'm curious, all those services that you offer, you're maybe at the bedside, you're working with those who are living, who are preparing for the death, you're helping share resources and give people access to things that will help them. Like you said, grief coaching, grief support, or getting the right access to those professionals. And how does the mediumship come in? Do a lot of your clients know that that is part of your process? Because I know a lot of times when someone's close to death, they'll start to experience and see loved ones that are waiting for them on the other side, even if they've had like in the throes of dementia, and you say, well, all of a sudden there's this moment of clarity and they're seeing and experiencing things. I'd love to have you share a little bit about that magic that a lot of everybody really knows about because we don't talk about death.
right, right. And you bring up this beautiful phenomenon called visioning that was something that attracted me too. So as someone who sees spirits and like sees auras and all that stuff, like there are physical changes that happen. Yes, I don't necessarily talk about them in the room unless they ask me. It's not something that, I'm just giving out this information. I'll share when someone asks me, but it's a very beautiful experience. And because I am woo woo, right? I attract more of that type of clientele and those types of patients and those types of conversations. And I think also when it comes to a death doula or someone who's sitting bedside, maybe a hospice volunteer or a hospice nurse, someone who is familiar with this death and dying process, and they're a stranger, there seems to be this opening and allowance of this is the weird thing that's happening to me, and I'm not afraid that you're going to judge me for it. And so allowing that non-judgmental zone where if, say, their loved ones were sitting there, they might feel a little hesitant, which has happened a lot of times in the past, where they're afraid to say that. I see grandma, I see my dogs. And there's even times where, that phenomenon when you think of someone and then they call you?
Yes.
That happens like during vigil, during the end moments where they're visioning. They're like, oh, I just saw, Aunt Sally, and come to find out, like, Aunt Sally was thinking of them, and they were able to, in great detail, say what Aunt Sally was wearing, what she was saying, what she was doing. And it was like, oh my goodness, we are all so spiritual and connected more than we even know.
I'm getting tears because this makes me so happy that you're doing this work. I know my work, of course, as a medium too, is working with helping those who are still living connect with those who are crossed so they can have a better life. And yours is helping them cross as well, especially in the space of non-judgment with them, and the shame is erased. They just can talk to you like you're a person. There's like letting down these masks that we wear as humans, that is like these facades. And when those go away, it's like our truth self, our truth comes out. And I love these experiences you're sharing, because I truly believe that when we expand our consciousness, which can happen maybe only towards death or at the end, but I think we can do it in our life living as well. I think that everyone has the capacity to expand, to be able to have visions and be able to connect with spirit, connect with loved ones who are alive, and have these kind of premonitions or these knowings. And I feel like too often people reserve that to say that it's for the special people like you and me. And I just think we're not special at all. And I'm just so grateful that you're doing this work. So is there anything you'd like to share about what you'll be speaking on this topic, or anything else about your work that you'll be relevant to chatting about at the expo? Because you'll be speaker with us. We're excited to have you.
I am so excited. And thank you for sharing your beautiful heart. It is always so wonderful to share time and space with you. And you led right into the reason for my talk, like the whole topic of, in order to die well, we need to live well. And at end of life, how we die is how we lived. And I've sat bedside with people who have lived a really beautiful life. And I go back to that thing that I heard. I forget who told me, but one of my mentors told me, if you want a beautiful life, or maybe it was a quote, I don't know, somebody correct me, drop it in the comments if you've heard this before. But if you want to say that you lived a beautiful life, after every single day, reflect on the beautiful things that have happened throughout the day. And at the end of life, you will have lived a beautiful life. And those passings are just so remarkable and so wonderful. And one of the things that we really hit on is forgiveness, but not just forgiveness for other people. It's forgiveness for ourselves, because I don't know about you, but like, I'm really hard on myself, right? And I can really push myself down. And I've seen how that works. There's a lot of resistance. There's a lot of uncomfortableness. There's a lot of like inner struggle. And so in order to have that peaceful passing, the allowance, the biggest person that we need to forgive is ourselves. So that's something that we talk about at end of life too, if we're allowed to go there. Some people are just not ready, and that's okay. And I feel like we all get there at some point,
Yeah. Well, I'm very excited, because I think that there's a lot of people that we need to chat about this, because I think you and I both have similar missions, and this purpose in this life is to help eradicate fear around spaces in which we're not talking about topics. So when I first met you, I said, oh my gosh, you're all about this too. Like all the things that are like topics that are taboo to talk about, it usually relates to around our power. I say sex, money, religion, death, right? Those are things that people either misuse power around them, or we have fears around them. And death is one of them. So I feel like in this age where we can enlighten ourselves, lighten the load of fear, the only way I feel like we can do that is by diving into these topics, educating ourselves, becoming aware, so that we are no longer spooked by these topics that we have this maybe misunderstanding about, or judgments, or just lack of knowing, because we always fear the unknown. So I think that this is another topic that I'm so glad we're bringing this to the event. I think this is actually one of the first times we've had something like this at the expo. So it's going to be awesome.
Thank you for having me and taking the opportunity to have these much needed conversations. It's really, really hard and difficult, right? And I've noticed, we do death cafes in Central PA, and the Death, Dying, and Grief event that we first met at. The resounding response that I've heard countless times is, "Thank you for bringing this up. Thank you for talking about this. Thank you for opening up the conversation."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, for finalizing our talk today, if anyone is for some reason unable to join us at the event, where can they reach you? And can you share a little bit about a sneak peek for next year's Death, Dying, and Grief event that you put on this year? You're going to be doing it again next year. It is a free event, but I want to know if you might want to share a little bit about that with everybody.
Yeah, sure. So you can reach me at my website, thebutterflybeth.com. And a sneak peek into the 2025 Death, Dying, and Grief event. We're still going to have it at the Englewood. It's going to be April 26th. And I don't want to let the beans out of the bag because we don't have our presenters finalized yet. So it's going
Yes,
to
but you had
be,
presenters, you had vendors, you had a lunch. It was really an educational day of learning about so many different things. Like, I know you're gonna have different presenters, but last time you had a presenter on like green burials. I was like, what? Like, these are really things that I thought it's really good to know these things now, when it's time for us or our loved one to transition. And it was just a really beautiful space.
yeah, thank you. It was my intention to bring people into the same space where you wouldn't feel comfortable necessarily going to a funeral home or a hospice center unless you needed to go there, right? And to have the opportunity to have all these wonderful people, and not only that, but like other vendors there that supported people, supported the community, support one another in the death, dying, and grief space was absolutely beautiful. So we had professionals, and then we had the common person, the common population, and we all were able to like help one another and connect in such a beautiful way. So I know it sounds like a scary kind of topic, but I promise our tagline is, I promise it's not as scary as it seems.
No, it was really uplifting and motivational, and I was like, "This is amazing." So I didn't feel any sort of vibes that were scary or anything. I think everyone was like really enjoying it, and so I look forward to going to that again next year.
We're excited to have you too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, all of you guys, you can buy the expo tickets now. They are up on the expo website. We have 50% off the VIP tickets right now till July 15th. So that's kind of fun. But other than that, we're going to see you then at the expo as a speaker. And we look forward to having you. And we'll see you guys next time for the next vendor interview. Bye. Thanks for being
Bye.
here, Beth.